Whole box. You know, she's just so meticulous around the house.
So good morning, everyone. It's 11 o'clock, and welcome to our webinar, which is between Craig Burgess of EBI Portfolios and myself, Gary Shepherd from Sprint Enterprise Technology. We are recording this session, so that's not a warning or anything. It's just to let you know that we are recording it, and we will make it available where you can go and download a copy of this afterwards. We'll send you all an email with a link to be able to go and download a copy of it. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we kick off. Because we have so many people sat in on the session this morning, we're not going to be able to take questions and answers. It would just be complete chaos with everybody's mics being turned on. So what we're suggesting is that sorry, we've got a bit of an echo, bear with me. So what we're going to do is we are going to suggest that if you have any questions I'd like to discuss more, then either please contact Craig or myself afterwards. As I say, we will be sending out an email with contact details, although everybody knows Craig, and I sent you all an email, so you should all have my contact details. So the format this morning is going to be Craig's over in his office, I'm over in my office, and therefore we are trusting technology for screen sharing. And as you know, for some of you that have been sat in on these sessions, that sometimes they do go a bit awry. So bear with us. We will be switching between presenters, between Craig and myself at different times during the presentation, and we'll aim to be done for 22. So we just want to take 40 minutes of your time. We know that you're all busy. So what we're going to do is Craig's going to kick off and just introduce the session, and then I'll then take us through an overview of what we're offering from Sprint and Fastrak and how we can help your business. And then Craig will describe and give you some detail about how he's been using Fastrak in his business and with his clients. So with that, I will turn Craig on and his mic so that Craig can come through and start talking to us. And we will do that. And yeah, we'll get going.
Okay, hi everybody. Okay, can you hear me now? Nobody can answer me back. This is great, no hecklers. Okay, so I'm only going to have a few minutes to introduce Gary back into the picture, and he's going to show you a demonstration of Fastrak. I just want to introduce the idea of how we came about to be using Fastrak ourselves from Blackstone's point of view, our IFA practice. The journey started with us developing the various product, the UCITS funds, and we wanted to be able to see through the fund into the underlying holdings. And obviously you can't do that on a platform via the likes of Wealth, Time, Transact, Nucleus, etc. And we were concerned that clients with very large holdings, £1 million, for instance, would just see one or two funds and would not realize that there are 15, 20, 30 funds underneath. And we wanted to not only just be able to display those funds to them, but also in the process be able to demonstrate to them that they're getting US ETFs, Vanguard Institutional Plus funds that they realistically couldn't get their hands on. So it would reinforce the benefits of that solution. And so that was actually our primary motive initially. But as we started talking to Gary and looking at the product, we realized that there was a bigger game afoot for us at Blackstone to use this to facilitate working with clients, because we consider we've got the investment solution nailed down at Blackstone. We ought to have. And really we're working on client experience, trying to reduce anxiety, make life easier for clients, and having Fastrak in our suite enable us to do that, because they can not only see the various funds, because a lot of our clients are using them now, but it's the other functionality that we found extremely helpful. I'm trying to stop myself from talking about it too much and stealing Gary's thunder. So that's how we've got to this point. I'd say at the moment, probably 25% of our clients are now on Fastrak. And we're doing it not by a mass mailing and telling everybody they're on it. We're introducing it as part of the review process each year. And we're just clicking one client in after another. And we're not giving them a choice. This is the way that we distribute information to them going forward. And, so far we've had absolutely no blowback, and it is making passing documents back and forward, a heck of a lot easier for us because we don't have attached documents. Sometimes they don't go through because they're too large. All that kind of thing is taken out of the equation. But actually, I'm ahead of time here, so I'm going to shut up and pass myself back to Gary and let him talk through the ins and outs of what Fastrak does.
Thanks, Craig. And Craig will be back on again in a little while. He's going to talk us through the system and how he uses it. I'm just going to literally just switch the presenting system back to me, there we go, and share my screen. So for those of you that haven't had anything to do, never had a conversation with us, never spoken to us at Sprint about Fastrak, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what we do. So the first thing that we do is that we go off and collect data. So let's get that bit out of the way. It means that there's no manual rekeying of information. Literally, we will go off to the Transact, Wealth Time, Nucleus, 7IM, and they will give us a complete data download of all of your firm's data, which means that there's nothing for you to do. And all four of those firms, which are the main firms that we're talking about here, they provide us with a complete and utter transaction history. So we get everything that's ever happened on those clients. And what that then does, it means that you can then start bringing clients together. And I know that some platforms and some of the back offices allow family wealth to be brought together. But what we've done is that we found that typically on a platform, you might have Mr. and Mrs. You'd have anything that was done as joint that might be separate, any SIP or trusts done separately, and any work done with any family members held separately. You might be able to link them, but held separately on platforms. So to put that in context, as the head of the family, and I want to be able to go in and I want to be able to see everything. I want to be able to see how everybody's portfolios are doing. It would mean that I would log in. Let's take Transact. So I would log in on Transact, and for that I'd be able to see mine and my joint. I'd log out, log back in as Dawn, so that I could go and see Dawn and joint, and then I'd log back out and log back in as the children to be able to go and see what they had. What we've done is enabled you to be able to bring clients together so that you can then merge them into the family group and then say who can have access. But Craig will talk a bit more about the portal and how he handles the client portal, which then allows your clients to see an overview of the family wealth. So what we've got on screen here now is we're looking at Fastrak. This is the dashboard, each of these blocks are what we call widgets. And these widgets are all configurable. So right now, we've got an AUM, we've got asset allocation, we've got key metrics, cash movements, the data import status, and I've got a little news feed going on here. These are all editable, apart from the data imports section. The data import section, I think, is one of the most important pieces because it lets you know when the last time that Sprint and Fastrak went off and collected your data from the platform and when it was last imported into the system. Because what would happen here is if you imagine that we tend to go off overnight and pick up data. So if you imagine we picked up data at 3 o'clock this morning from Transact and Wealth Time, then if you logged into Transact or Wealth Time now, there may be a bit of a difference in the value of a client portfolio because they are updating everything on a 15-minute basis, whereas we're taking the data that was brought in overnight. The first one here, the AUM, I'm showing a chart that's the blue line is always the latest value, and the red line is capital invested, and that's across all clients. And you'll hopefully consider that this is a demo system that we've set up for Craig, and so it's got limited amounts of data in, but what it does, it shows capital at any point, and it shows what the latest values are. We can go and look at that over different time periods, and also you can decide what it is that you want to include. So it might be that actually all you want to do is just see, what have I got on wealth time? So you could literally just switch off the data sources, look back, and it will then recalculate and tell you what you have on each of the data sources. That data can then be exported. There's an Excel export button. Literally click the button and it will export it. The next widget is one then that shows us the asset allocation chart. So where you have models, you can come and set your models up in Fastrak, and then you can start to look at asset allocation. And again, by hovering your mouse over, it'll tell you what's in where. But these are yours, and again, that ability to be able to drop that out. You'll then see that you've got things such as funds, and you've got detail on funds, so you can literally drop into the fund. That will take you to what we call a fund dashboard. That will then give you a breakdown, and the most important thing for this is actually this bottom section here, which is the who's invested in this fund. So at any point, once we've collected your data, we can tell you who's got a fund on what platform in what tax wrapper, and the amount of detail that we can go into. We can turn all of this detail on, so the account name, the account number, the ownership, the wrapper name, the portfolio, yields. We can turn on the TERs, the gains, any of this information. If you click these buttons, click back onto the cog, it'll take you back into there. So at any point, we can tell you who's got it, in what tax wrapper, on what platform. We can tell you how are they doing at any point. More importantly, you can take that data and export it out into Excel. So you can literally just suck all that data out, push it into Excel, and do anything you want with it over in Excel. So that's what we call a fund dashboard. The other one we have in here is then when we start looking at clients, is we have client dashboards. So if we come up and pick up a client, so we'll look at Mr. Murray. Again, these widgets are all editable, so you can decide what you see. What we have here is we've got the client, and what we've done is, what Craig's done is he's brought in his clients and merged them into a family group. Because if you imagine we've been off to platform and brought back your data, that data typically would come back that we might not know, because the surnames may not be the same on family members. It may be that there's a SIP or a trust, and therefore that might come through as trust 19246. We might not necessarily know that that belongs to the Murray family. So you can merge in any other data that we've brought into this account, and in the event that people start to separate or there's a divorce, you can actually then hive them off into their own accounts. You simply grab a client and drag it down to the bottom of the screen here, which would allow you then to de-merge those clients. This is showing us their current AUM, and if we just change that period, we'll look at that over 6 months. And so this is now at client level. You're seeing their AUM, you're seeing their asset allocation, and if they have holdings on more than one platform, again, you can choose what you're looking at. We can see client logins and who has logins and who doesn't onto the client portal. And over this side, we've got their portfolios. And again, one of the nice things about these dashboards is that instant access to information. So from here, client's on the phone and he's saying to, well, you know what, I'm thinking about buying my son a new car. I need 20 grand. Where am I going to get it from? Well, instantly you can come in and see current values of what the client might have. So we could, for example, look at this and go, well, you know what, you've got a bit of money in your ISA and bear in mind this client hasn't got, the total value is 55. But actually we can see here that what they've got is that it could say, well, actually, you know what, we'll take it out of your SIP. If you've got a GIA, you might be looking at, well, there's been a potential gain on the GIA, so we might not touch that. We might want to take it out of your ISA instead. And in fact, if we split it, Liam, between you and Demi, we could get the 20 grand and we'll take it out of your ISAs. Demi's ISA's made 4.5 grand. And Liam's has made not as much. But so what it's doing is it's bringing together that data, giving you instant access to the information so that you can then go off and see what is going on. So that's in there. Now, one of the big things with Fastrak is about this ability to customize. So if we come into the setup, One of the things in here is that you've got your client logins, but really it's around things like sectors. So in here, you can go off and create your own sectors. You decide where a fund sits in a sector. And you know better than I, if I told you that a particular fund should sit in a sector, you'll find 5 reasons why it shouldn't. So we don't do that. It's entirely up to you. You decide on colour schemes, and also on sector titles. So if, for example, we didn't want to call it global equities, we just wanted to call it equities, we could go in and just change that title. It is yours. So it's configurable so that, again, when clients look and your clients are looking at this and you're looking at this, it's in your language and not our language. And the key part of this, though, is around the client portal. And what you have are options that can be triggered onto the portal. So what do we want the client to see when they log in? This is at firm level. It is not at individual client level, as in your consumer level. It is at firm level. But you decide what you want to see. So, for example, here, in this instance, we're showing at top level, we're showing tax wrappers. And the tax wrappers were showing contributions, the value, the growth as an amount and percentage, and the annualized growth rate. And at underlying fund level, we're showing the units held, the price, the value, and the weighting. If you wanted to show more or less, then absolutely you can do. It's very simple. You simply tick or untick and then apply the changes. But what it does, it just gives you that ability of deciding what your clients can see. It also will then, what are we including? So we're showing private documents, general documents, investment summary. We're showing the EBI portfolios, which is an important part, which is the look through, and I'll let Craig describe that to you in a moment, but that's the look through on the funds. It's showing investment information and wrapper category details. And again, wrapper categories to us are really important, and it should be in your language. I think one of the best descriptors of that I heard the other day was someone saying that when they talk to their clients, they talk about pension and non-pension. But when you download data from both platform and sometimes from back office, they do all the categorization for you. So here, this allows you, and this will just look at your data, so it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, this will just look at your data, and in effect, you're setting a rule, and you're saying to Fastrak, when that data comes in from this platform, this bond, which is currently with Friends Provident, I want to call it an offshore bond. That's what I wanted to say. And I wanted to go into a category called investment bonds. If you wanted that to go into a different category, you can go and create the category yourself, give it its name, and then simply a drag and drop. So here, the Mondial, for example, it's saying it's unknown. We know that it's an offshore bond, so we'll call that an offshore bond, and therefore I want it to show in the bond. So I'm going to take out the other and drop in the investment bond. You can see as well where anything is CGT applicable, and therefore that's down to you. You can tick the button and say that absolutely their GIA or GIAs coming from this platform are liable to capital gains. So that's just a guide. So what it's doing is it's giving you this snapshot. It's giving you the ability of being able to customize what you see, and that goes down to the color schemes. So what you find is that when we look on the portal, you'll see that there's an asset, there's a couple of charts, and the color schemes of those charts are yours. So all it is doing is it's saying that the very first color we use for a chart is that one, the second color is that one. So it literally then you can then tie all of this in with your brand, and make it so that it's not us that are deciding, Fastrak that's deciding what a sector color should be, what a chart color should be. It is absolutely down to you. It's really about the customization so that you're comfortable with the way that the system describes your services, the way that it shows your data and displays that to the client. What you do have is the ability, and again, Craig is going to go into this in more detail, of being able to upload documents into the client portal. So you can do things on bulk, you can create client groups, and you can upload documents, and those documents can be everything from I want everybody to have a quarterly update, or a blog post, or a market overview, and I want all these clients to have that and make it available. You can set into here and it actually isn't turned on at the moment in mine, but you can set it so that the email that is sent to the client to tell them it's your wording, not our wording. So it's all very customizable, but it means that if I want to drop a, we're going to have well, we've gone past, we're not having an autumn statement anymore, are we? But if we wanted to be able to show a client, give them an update on the budget, then produce a budget document or buy a budget document in some form of documentation, and we want to publish that to everybody, it means that we can do that in one place. All we have to do is add a file into you create the folders, you can add a file into that folder, and all of a sudden every single client has access to that at the same time. So it will cut down on post, it'll also cut down on the email, and email is a bit of a sore subject with the FCA at the moment. They're getting very, very touchy about especially client reports or anything that has any client data, about that being emailed to a client in an unsecure email. They're particularly coming down on Gmail and Hotmail accounts because, I'm on my computer here. Anybody, if my computer was open, could come to my computer and can get to my Gmail account because it's open and it's instantly accessible. Trying to get clients to use secure email is a nightmare. A number of firms have tried it, and it just, I know one firm that tried it and they ended up going back to post purely because they couldn't get clients or advisors to use a secure email because the clients just couldn't be bothered with the logging in process, and neither could the client. So this allows you to upload documents into a secure client portal. It will send a quick email to the client to say, we've just uploaded a document, go and have a look. So they then need to go and log in. And then obviously, when they've logged in, you can see when somebody logged in, the last time they logged in. You decide who has access. You also decide what they see when they log in. So Liam, when Liam logs in, he's a master. He can see everything that's under the Murray family. Whereas, for example, if Connor logged in, Connor might just be able to see his own. But to add somebody, a couple of points here that are really quite important. We found recently with one of our clients that they told us that they had a number of their clients where they have one email address for the family. So where you couldn't use necessarily an email address as a unique identifier for someone to be able to log in. So you have the ability of having either a username or email address. So if you have family@murray.com, and that's it, and there might be four members within that family, or two, Mr. and Mrs. And especially with elderly clients, it was described to me the other day that trying to get an elderly client to set up a new email address so that they Mr. and Mrs. both have one each would mean them typically taking their iPad into Apple and getting Apple to sort it out for them. So this way, you don't need to do that. You can create them a username. They can both have the same email address, and when it sends an email, yes, it would send it to both, but one would say, Dear Connor, one would say, Dear Demi. So that's really quite important on being able to give clients access. We absolutely agree with Craig in the way that you give clients access to the system is that don't try and do it on bulk. You need to do it on a one-on-one basis, explain to them what they're going to be seeing so that you don't get swamped with phone calls from your clients going, I've got this, but I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do and what it's showing me. Do it on a one-on-one basis, and you'll find that the take-up will be very good. So that's as much as I'm going to say on the system at the moment. I'm going to pass you back now over to Craig, who's going to run you through the client portal and how he uses the client portal and the benefit that it's brought to his business. So if you bear with us a second, just while we switch over. So I'm going to just bring Craig back online and make Craig the presenter and turn on Craig's mic and turn my mic off. So we're back over to Craig, and when Craig's ready, he'll click on the button and we'll then show his screen. So we'll wait for Craig to do that. There we go, and away we go.
Okay, right, so I'm just going to walk you through the user experience. best I can. I don't actually see that many clients anymore, so it's the power planner advisors that work here that are doing this on a day-to-day basis. But so here's my high-level take of the things that I thought were quite important. First of all, I mean, this is our somewhat jaded old website, which is we have a new one which is not launched yet. We're just sorting out a few minor details. But I think it's quite important in the modern world that by driving clients through your website, you have an opportunity then for them to, for you to pass a message on. It might be that this page has got something on it about, I don't know, you raising money for charity, doing a walk or whatever it is, but you've got a way of getting clients to come through your website and however you want to use it to market your services, you've got that option, whereas clients probably would never otherwise ever go to your website. So this is where it is currently for us, the resources, Fastrak portal. We'll probably be changing that terminology to Blackstone portal in due course, because I think beyond this screen, the word Fastrak never actually shows up again. Gary can probably confirm that. So if we go to the home page, once I've logged in, this is what I'm going to see as a client. Of course, it's worth saying that if I'm with Wealth Time as a client or Transact, they can, of course, always go off to Wealth Time and Transact. But in reality, I think they put a bit more effort in to make it a little bit more user-friendly, and less sort of some of the platforms I've looked at are difficult to work around and awkward, and a lot of resources probably they don't need. But here it's simplified, and so I'm looking at my portfolio here, and the things I'm going to key on as we go with a Wealth Time down there. That could say Wealth Time, it could say Transact, it could say Old Mutual Bond, and that's one of the advantages. It pulls all that data from those various places, so I've got one consolidated view. As Gary said, if I'm the master, I can see, and we had a client in here yesterday, he's got a SIP with a GIA. That's actually a separate login to his own login for his own pension. He's got a wife, he's got 2 sons, he's got a company, and I think he's got a trust. And it was he was just chuffed as punch to find out he only had to log in once to be able to go look at all of those things. And so it was a big win for little or no cost, a bit of effort for us to set it up. But in the long run, we think he's going to bother us less because he can get all the information he wants in one place. So we click on this Wealth Time SIP for this individual. So this is for I know there's a couple of overseas guys that have hooked in this morning. Hope you're it's probably the middle of the night for the guys hooked in from Hong Kong, but this is what you would see if you were using Various. Here's the opportunity to make a plug for our product. So you can see all the underlying assets there, and that is actually how it would come up. So the concept of Various as a product is really, quite small in terms of what they're seeing. It's actually these underlying holdings as if they were holding them directly themselves. They're clearly not, but we pump this information in every day to, rather we don't, SCI do, the administrators, into Gary's piece of kit. And so this is real time, the holdings that the fund had at close of business yesterday. If we click on Various up the top there, then this will generate a fact sheet. If we're lucky enough, on a good day, it will generate a fact sheet and guarantee you why it hasn't happened. And if you click on the underlying funds, I know it's because we're sharing the site or whatever, but 9 times out of 10, we'll be able to see the underlying fact sheet. The Various fact sheet will be our fact sheet that we've generated, whereas DFA, emerging markets, value, etc., they'll be FE fact sheets. So let's just look at my list of things that it's all about.
Just to drop in there, the reason it hasn't is because Craig, that's it. It's blocked the pop up. Yeah.
Done. So always allow from that portal. Done. Try again. Told you I don't use this very often. So that will bring up our fact sheets. These are updated every month. All the key things that we think are of value in there. And if we go back and we look at emerging market small cap, and we go back to that website, it'll bring up, hopefully, actually, because that's an American fund, I actually think FE struggle with that particular one. If we go to a more regular one, let's go to the Vanguard Developed World UCITS. That one, yeah. That one, yeah. So let's go back to that other page, and yeah, so there's some information there about that particular fund. So as a client, I can't do this on Transact, or most platforms, as I'm aware of, go and get information like this. I know some of us rightly don't really want our clients staring at 2D graphs and charts, but one of the things we are asked for from time to time by clients is fact sheets, etc., etc. So they are available via this mechanism. So we go look at the library. Private documents, sorry, there we go. So we've just put some dummy documents in here for how we're starting to arrange this for clients. So post a meeting, when a client comes to see us, we will send them an email saying your meeting pack has been dropped into your Fastrak account, and what they'll have in due course is all the year's meeting packs are in there with all the most of you will be familiar with this stuff, the cash flow, the all the elements of our normal meeting will be in there for them. Close that. Illustrations, suitability letters, we can go on ad nauseum, but you get the picture. We're able to drop all those documents and they've got them as a permanent record available to them. And we just, we don't have to worry about these things. We used to print these things off and pop them in the post. That's printing, that's postage, all expensive. And of course, if they get lost in the post, there's valuable information about clients out there. When we send some of the bigger documents, maybe they can't hold them they can't receive them because the files are too big. Again, the emails, when we get them to clients, how are they storing these? I went to my mother's house the other day. She had 65 emails on her phone, and she had about 50 a week ago. They're not that organized, all these folk, and their meeting packs will get lost, or you're putting the burden on them to print them off and to file them. And we're trying to take all this stress and anxiety out of it so that we're just too comfortable and easy an option, because everything is where it should be. I know where it is. I can go and get it. I don't even have to think about it. I just log in and I've got all my information that I need there.
And one of the other things as well that you can do, one of the things to bear in mind on the private documents, it goes both ways. So, for example, whilst Craig has created the folders here for the data and the reports and the information that you as the advisor want to provide to the client, your clients can also upload data into here. So a great example of that would be, you've got a client that's got 3 Santander accounts. They put £80,000 in each because they got their 3%. You're about to do their annual review. You need to know what their current values are the current balances in those accounts are. Rather than the client sending you a statement, they could upload a document into here. So the clients can also upload documents into here that are then secure. You get a notification as the advisor to tell you that Liam has just uploaded a new document. You can then go in and get that document. So it could be statements, it could be that you need, from them some ID, so it could be a copy of their passport, driving licenses, anything like that. So it is a two-way interaction with this. And one of the things that we are currently working on is the secure messaging part of this, where you can literally just put in a message, type in a message into Fastrak, into the portal. That will then send a simple email to the client that goes, you have a new secure message from EBI, please log in and have a look at it. And therefore that then completes that circle. So not just documents, but we are also working on the ability of having secure messaging. But today, if you signed up for the system today, you would be able to get both you and your clients to be able to upload private and personal documents into the system. Sorry, Craig, I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gary knows a little bit more about this than I do, so filling in the gaps here. I've just got a couple of points here. In terms of practical matters for advisors, certainly in our experience, people are moving around platforms, the likes of WealthTime, for instance. Many of us have used it. And it may well be, as we're doing, moving very much larger clients onto their fixed fee basis, which is £600 a year. And I've spoken to advisors and said, oh yeah, we got the disruption. The client's going to have to load a whole new bunch of logins. He kind of knows his way around some ugly old platform, but the decision-making process has not been driven by the cost-saving efficiency. It's about the disruption to the client. Well, if we move our client from WealthTime to Nucleus, and this is where they've been logging on to see the information, one day it will say WealthTime and the next day it will say Nucleus. I mean, that may take a few months, but the disruption to the client is minimal. We've still got the same amount of paperwork to do, but what we really care about is the client is seeing this as a seamless, straight-through process that doesn't involve them having to relearn a whole bunch of stuff. Particularly, I don't sound ageist, but you're talking 60, 70-year-olds learning a whole new piece of technology. You're not making their day any easier. So for us, we should. If we find platforms are half the price but just as easy to work with, why are we not switching our clients? If we've been on the forum and spoke to 20 advisors and they all say it's bloody marvelous, then we ought to be making those kind of decisions. And this facilitates that to be a lot easier process in terms of client management. I got down here, we got about 17 platforms being fed in currently. So most of the platforms we're likely to talk to in the UK at least have got information. Wealth Time Works on board, and I think Gary will tell you that we actually got them on board in a matter of, I don't know, literally weeks. So it's down to the enthusiasm of the platform to help out. And we've done a deal with Gary, so this is a little bit of a stripped down version of his full-blown affair, which we wanted designers to have all the major components for us to be able to utilize with advisors. And I'm going to pass back to Gary. Yeah, no?
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, absolutely.
Just to tell you what the costs are, because on the top of my head, I don't know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Craig. That was really useful, and it was a great descriptor of how Craig uses the system in his business. We'll just wrap up, conscious of time, and we said we'd get you done by 22. So we're just going to flip back, and so bear with us while I just make me the presenter, and we flip back to my screen. There we go. Let's just take you through what we've looked at. So Fastrak, we will go off and aggregate all of your data from the platforms. We also do have integration with IntelliFlow, with Advisor Office as well. So if you've got that, we'll be able to bring that data in. The dashboards is what you get access to, where you can analyze all your data and see all your data in one place. So that's both at firm level, at client level, and also at fund level. Obviously, the key part of this is the client portal. And so it's a secure client portal that is white labeled, sits on your website, and means that clients are always coming to you and not going to individual platforms, but they are coming to you. You can upload documents, and the client can upload personal documents as well. And then you've obviously got the group facility to be able to upload multiple versions. The other thing that we haven't really touched on is this, the ability, we can take the data that we've collected from platforms and make that data available in Voyant. I can say that we are also, or in the next, I would have thought actually by about end of next quarter, first quarter next year, we are in talks with another one of the cash flow providers. But at the moment, it means that any of the data we pick up can then be brought into Voyant. So you can literally open Voyant Advisor, and where you would normally go to update prices, you can import the data from Fastrak. So Fastrak will bring through all the latest valuations, all the latest data that it's picked up from the platforms, make that available in there. Then you'll still need to update some of the off-platform assets that you'll have within Voyant. So that's what's available. That's what comes with the system. And as Craig says, we have a specific pricing module and contract in place for this arrangement. And the way that the pricing works on this, sorry, my mouse isn't working, there you go, is that it's based on the number of clients that you bring into the system. So you can see here, it's very simple. From 0 to 50 clients, it's the cost that you pay to us is £25 per month. 51 to 100 clients is £50 per month, and 101 to 250 clients is at £75 per month. If you've got more than 250 clients, then it's just a conversation with us, and obviously it's about being sensible. Now that's available. We get your data set up and get you up and running relatively quickly. We will, as I said to you, be sending out some information after this. So we have been recording the session. We'll make that available. We won't email it to you because it would literally close your email inbox down with the size of the file, but we'll make it available. It'll be available on a page on the Sprint website where you can go and download that file and run through it at any point. If you have any questions on anything that's been raised or anything you've seen today, then please feel free to contact Craig or myself, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And also to be able to, if you want to have an individual online demonstration of what we can do, then again, please ask. As for the platforms where we can currently get data for you, on the Sprint website, we tell you here exactly the platforms that we get and what data we get from those platforms. So platform integrations, there are currently 17 on here. We also have started doing some work with some of the DFMs, just because we needed to, but these are the platforms where we can go off and pick up your data. So it isn't limited to the Transact, WealthTime, 7IM and Nucleus. We can get data from any of these platforms. And that's all from us today. I hope you found the session really useful. I'd like to thank Craig and his team for the work that they've done, and I'll just put Craig back online if I can get my mouse to work, and unmute Craig. If Craig can, or if Craig wants to click his unmute button, if Craig wants to say goodbye, there you go. But I'd just like to say thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. We understand, and we really do understand that just how precious time is. Thank you for that. And as I say, if you get any questions, then please do, don't hesitate to contact Craig or myself.
Okay, thank you all attending, and less is more. So on that note, I'll log off. Speak to you all soon.
Thank you all. Thanks, everybody.
I'll just expand.